Good good morning as folks are joining. It's good to see everybody. We'll give folks a minute on this or cloudy slash rainy Monday for folks to join us. Our team, so Titus, Shakira, Marissa, and I were all at the Alliance for Early Success meeting in Salt Lake City last week. It was great to be. We were with folks from all 50 states and the national organizations. It was great to be together, to be in Salt Lake City. So it's also good to be back. And we're so excited today to have with us our two interns who are with us for the fall semester. And I'm going to turn things over first to Amanda. Amanda is actively in working in a classroom. So she has snuck out for some time to be with us this morning. So Amanda, first, tell us a little bit about you and tell us about where you're studying and then where you are working.
Yeah, I am currently a graduate student at BU in Wheelock College. I'm getting my master's in leadership, policy, and advocacy for early childhood well-being. And I am currently a paraprofessional in a preschool classroom at Brookline Early Education Program.
And Amanda, where did you get your undergrad and what was your undergrad degree in?
I have my undergraduate degree in political science from UMass Boston.
And how did you find strategies for children?
Honestly, when I was just doing some research for potential career options that I wanted to look into, I was trying to figure out something that had to do with policy and children because I love political science and I really wanted to be part of something in the public policy realm. And I love working with kids. That's like what I do on my full time everyday job, right? And I really wanted something that is going to incorporate both of them. So that's also how I found the BU program was while I was sort of figuring out what was going to be next for me. I found strategies and I found the BU program. And then luckily enough, I ended up in our child and the youth advocacy class where Amy taught me. And I had a really great opportunity to have Amy as a professor.
And when you think about that class and the program at BU is designed originally was designed for people going full time. Many students
Mm-hmm.
are going part time because that's the reality of the world that we're living in.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the advocacy class you took first, now you're in this internship class.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little about what you learned in the advocacy class and kind of why that kind of made you think about kind of being in a place like strategies?
Yeah, because I've been mostly in a classroom setting for most of my career, I have not necessarily had opportunities for networking and connecting with people who have similar values and outlooks on everything that strategies does. And I really through that course I got the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and it influenced me to it inspired me, I would say, more to um, be more active in my networking and reaching out to more people, and I knew strategies was going to be the perfect place for me to do that because there are so many connections, so many people who are involved in child advocacy work, and yeah, it just felt like a really great opportunity for me.
And what was your project in the child advocacy class?
I was looking at culturally responsive social emotional learning for early education, and I contacted a couple of people. I remember Debbie Lee Keenan was one of the people that you connected me with, which was really great. She's a really awesome. She was really awesome to talk to. She had a lot of knowledge, a lot of information to give me, and not even like textbook knowledge. It was just like very much like personal um, a very real sort of connection type of information. It was very like experiential.
Right.
Yeah, it was really
We
great.
talk about, when you're doing networking and like it's all opportunities to practice. I think too, and I know Dr. Kyle DeMeo Cook has joined us on the call as well. But when you think about that program, it really was designed to think about people who have this direct experience. How do you make those connections? Think about all those
Hmm.
transferable skills to think about you as a learner in the world. So now being at Strategies, as you said, you're a paraprofessional, so you're working during the day. We also have to thank Titus Sastromedius, who oversees the interns, who
Yes.
really has made anybody's schedule work. But there definitely are challenges when you're kind of working full time. So tell us a little bit about what you've been working on and what you have learned along the way.
Yeah, great. I have been working on an information brief that's going to, well, I guess maybe I should start off a little bit further back. So because I do not have formal education in early childhood development, and it's more of a experiential knowledge situation for me when it comes to early childhood development. Um, I wanted to create an information brief for people who are in similar situations to me that don't have the formal education, but want to be involved in early childhood advocacy, and want to have more of a foundational like set of information that they can look to in order to be efficient advocates for early childhood.
And you're also working to help us. We're kind of always refining our legislative list,
Yes, right.
which was Marissa's internship project when she was with us. So just and then what are examples of things that you've kind of learned? You talked about even interviewing with Debbie Lee Koenig. What have you learned
Yeah,
along the way around that you couldn't? That's one of my favorite questions as interns that you couldn't learn. Well, we can learn a lot in lectures and reading. What are
yeah, right.
things that you're learning kind of in the experience?
I am learning so much about myself and my level of confidence in terms of being able to advocate. At first, I really had no I don't want to say I didn't have any confidence, but I definitely had a lower level of confidence than I do now. Because again, like I said before, I had not really had much experience networking. I didn't have much experience in like not to say that a classroom isn't a professional setting, but like a more like office sort of
Right. Well,
professional setting, I guess. Right.
right.
And it's something that I have learned over the past couple of months that I actually can do, and I do have the skills for it. Um, and it's also something that I can just like continuously be working on. It's not something that I have or don't have. It's something that I can just continue to grow my skills with. Yeah.
And we necessarily haven't talked about this, but that is a really big challenge, or at least a mental block of many
Yeah.
educators. And they think about
Yeah.
how confident and how good they feel in one setting, and then going to either the state house, like some of these spaces are designed to be intimidating,
Right.
and that we don't know the rules. But so that's really good to hear to think about that confidence, because that's 90% of it, right? You have to feel like you
Yeah.
can do it because you can learn all the other stuff, but having an opportunity to practice is really important. I've also added in the chat, as you're hearing from folks, add some love and appreciation in the chat. We know most folks, when they come on the 9:30 call, everyone's remarks how they get nervous, even if you've been on the 9:30 call, even if you talk all the time to people. So appreciate it, Amanda. Amanda, what advice
Yeah.
would you give to, and Amanda has to, go back into the classroom as we make the 9:30 call work for everybody. But when you think about kind of what you're learning in the program, what you've kind of been here learning at Strategies, what advice would you have for people as they think about like how do you take that first step? How do you start building that confidence?
I don't know. I would say that I think not honestly, just like don't give up on yourself. Like I wasn't sure and I wasn't very confident at the beginning, but I definitely over time and with help from professors like Hal DeMayo Cook and like you, Amy and Titus, and Marissa even too, like I think that I've grown a lot and I the key to that is to just not give up and not let your insecurities sort of take over.
Great. And what do you hope to
Yeah.
do? We didn't prep this question, but what do you hope to do after you graduate?
That's a great question. I actually still working on figuring that one out, so I'll get back to you on
That's
that.
very developmentally appropriate. I guess that's the other headline, though, is as you are thinking, like if there are people that you want to connect to or parts of the work that you're interested in learning more about, please continue to let us know. And
Yeah.
you'll always be part of, our strategies for children and families. So I think along the way, as you're kind of exploring things, because I think, figuring out what to do in some ways, there's so much you can do, which can be intimidating as well.
Yeah.
What's on the agenda today in your classroom?
Oh my gosh. Same thing as every day. Got to keep the schedule, right? Got to keep it nice and tight for the kids so they don't lose their minds. So, yep.
That is going to be hard. Well,
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for being able to join us this morning, and we will see you. Yes, thanks, Kyle. We are so proud of Amanda and thankful to
Thank
Strategies for
you.
Children for hosting her as an intern. John Danette says, Amanda, you exude confidence. You'll be a great representative in the sector no matter what direction you choose. So we'll keep
Thank
the love and
you.
appreciation coming, even when you have to go back to class.
Yes.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Amanda.
you so much.
So,
Bye.
bye. Now we'll turn to Nafee. Nafee, good morning.
Good
Why don't
morning.
you tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be at Strategies?
Of course, yeah. Thanks everyone for attending today. It means a lot for our strategies to have people show up. And as I've seen through the 9:30 calls, more than 100 people have been showing up because of the consistency that strategies has shown for the early education community itself. So my name is Nafi. I grew up in Bangladesh, and now I'm at Bunker Hill Community College as a paralegal student. Currently, I'm interning as a communications and policy intern at Strategies. And growing up, I noticed unfair standards of living for children around me and for myself. And that made me sort of question what can lead to actual systemic change. I realized that policy can do that. And that's why being with strategies has been meaningful to me because it sort of intersects between the skills that a paralegal has to have with legal research as well as communications and a lot of competency. Excuse me. And I learned about strategies through my college, but more so through a friend who was a former intern, Camille Roque. She did an amazing job and set an example for us. So thank you, Camille.
That's right, Nafi. And we totally enjoy our relationship with Bunker Hill Community College. It has been incredible to be a partner with them. It's Earn to Learn? Is that the program?
Yes, learn and earn.
So tell us a little, I always get the order mixed up. Titus is
Okay.
probably, yep, he's laughing. Tell us a little bit about that program, Nafi. How does that work?
Of course, yeah. So there are two types of internships that Bunker Hill provides to the diverse community it has. The first is the student goes out and does their own research and is able to find an internship externally. Um, that will be an internship that will have credits for their college, but Learn and Earn is something that will have both credits and some sort of reimbursement. And that is how I came to know about strategies.
Which is really, it's incredible that the higher ed institution is helping to take the lead in securing the funding. They have folks at Bunker Hill Community College that are constantly kind of looking for opportunities. And Titus, if you want to add anything, let me know. I've pinned us so we can see Nafi. Nafi, now strategies, 930 College, you may have noticed we have a different presence on social media. You may have noticed more reels showing the inside and outside scenes of strategies. That is Nafi. Nafi has come to strategies in September, ready to take the reluctant online. So Nafee, tell us a little bit about your intern, who you're working with, what projects you've done, and then we'll get to more questions.
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you, Amy, for the shout out. I'm currently being guided by our Titus and Dignaris Garcia. And it's been really great how they've given me a space to grow and make mistakes, and again, giving me constructive feedback. Having said that, I saw firsthand the extensive effort that goes into whether the 9:30 call, our Eye on Early Childhood blog, or even our advocacy network. And Strategist has been really exceptionally great at doing exactly what it wants to, that is having impact. But I sort of wanted to advocate for strategies. And my way of doing that was focusing on the behind the scenes through video production. So far, I've done 4 videos, and all of them have gotten good feedback. So I'm very glad that we're having more visibility and reach and are able to show visual storytelling, the sort of work we do.
And Effie, you have such a wonderful way of making people feel comfortable, especially a lot of people, you put up a camera and say, I'm going to record you, people freak out. And you have remained patient. And I want to talk about the feedback loop. I think that's really important. You have produced things. I also appreciate how much time and effort you're putting into things. And as we've talked about, as you said, with Neri leading, what is our brand? How do we make sure that things that we put out are consistent, that they reflect who we are? And you've been able to do that in a very short time, kind of get to the heart of who we are and what that should look like when you think about doing the recording. Can you talk a little bit about the Early Childhood Summit? You were there all day, and if folks can appreciate, right? You have all this stuff, and then you have to boil it down into a very short period of time. And we'll put the links in the chat, Nafi, but tell us a little bit about that experience.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it was my first time seeing, since Strategy is hosting an event and sort of being there from before the event started till after, starting from meetings upon meetings and going through over things. That just showed me the amazing teamwork that Strategies has. There's a lot of cohesive bond, and it also showed me. How strategies was valued because it was so resourceful to other nonprofits as well. It felt nice to see strategies was um, highlighting other voices on its own agenda, and it sort of showed me that being the one to advocate for someone else doesn't really mean you have to shut down other voices.
And you were able to interview folks about their experience at the summit. And you were able to kind of like get clips from each of the panel. As an observer and someone who, you're about, almost 3/4 the way through your internship, what did you hear at the summit from people, both in the interviews and in the panels, that really struck you?
Very good question, Amy. I heard a lot. I learned a lot. I was behind the camera, but I was listening, and almost at a time I was taken away by how excellent our panelists were. I learned from Angelina Latin how, at a young age, she's able to advocate for people of color in the early childhood community. I learned from. hmm, um, our panel to second panel, excuse me, third panel had where we were talking about midwifery in
Right.
Worcester, and it was amazing to me how brainwashed I was about this specific topic, but it actually seems to be more beneficial for women in terms of pregnancy. I also learned how strategies had impact, and people were reflecting on that during the summit because of when they spoke in their reactions. They're feeling gratitude, and they felt the connection. That was one word, but that was very repeated, and it felt nice to see other people relate to that.
Nafi, what have you kind of, as you've been through this experience, what have you learned that you can, again, like we know it's important to go to school and have lectures and do readings, but what have you learned kind of through this experiential learning opportunity?
I would say um, I learned not to be scared to go up to people and form a connection. And it showed, honestly, working with strategies taught me a lot about communications coming from a world where body language is used a lot. And it showed me it taught me how to write professional emails and how to make sure other people are comfortable with even being on camera. It taught me that most people do have a good intention of connecting as well, whether they can make the time or not.
And that when we were driving home from the summit, Nafee took control of the radio. So we heard a lot of I experienced your music, which was at 10 o'clock at night. We had a long day that day. But as you think about next steps, what are you thinking about for you after you think of, after your time at Bunker Hill?
Very honestly, Amy, strategies gave me the confidence to pursue my dreams. I had two aunts who were with non like NGOs, and I always saw other people look down upon them, even though they were very high income people. And I thought I was never going to be able to do this, but I do want to pursue a master's in public policy or maybe early education and policy, like you did, Amy. And then I wish to come back to this team because it's been so great, honestly.
That's so exciting to hear, Nafi. I guess final question for you, and then Titus, I'd love for you to I'll unpin us and hear a little bit of you about our experience of interns in general. But how do you make feel comfortable? Like when the fellows first started, we were sitting around the table, and we were like, okay, you were gonna make a video, and like what are the how do you make people feel comfortable? Because you really do have an amazing ability to do that.
Well, thank you, Amy. That's a good question. Actually, I've learned that can't word it any better. Being a nerd helps. If you do some little bit of research, you will, yeah. For example, the first time I met the fellows, I was able to know their educational backgrounds. And as I was talking to them, I was telling them about them. Oh, you were the first person to start a fellowship with strategies with just an undergraduate, Eliza. And so she was impressed by that and she started to open up. And I think people like when you listen to them.
So true. I think that's good advice. We talked the meeting that we just went to, we were talking Titus, Marissa, and I went to a session about like having hard conversations, and there was a way that you do it, and so much of it is about listening and then incorporating what people are telling you and then thinking about how to listen. We don't do enough listening, Nafi, in this world. So well, I'm gonna bring in Titus to the conversation. Titus, hello. I'm gonna unpin this as we go.
Hi.
But tell us about the internship program. We always get questions. Oh, and Nafi heard about us through Camille, who was our past
Mhm.
intern. So can you talk a little bit about the work that you've done to kind of build up the internship program?
Sure. Thanks, Amy. And thanks, Nafee, for your excellent work. And thank you, Amanda, who had to step back to her classroom. But yeah, we are very proud of our internship program at Strategies for Children. We calculated that we've probably hosted 40 interns since 2018 when Marissa was an intern. So, and now Marissa is our director of policy. So we've learned a lot about how to support interns from all different colleges, all different programs of study, different levels of education, different life experience, and levels of lived experience or facets of lived experience even. Um, and we will work with anyone who is enthusiastic and wants to be with us. We don't have a even though we're becoming more selective because we have a lot of interest, we can only really take one, two, or three interns at a given time because we're a small team. We want to give them as much support as possible. But the criteria is really you are in college in some way, taking some sort of higher education, and you want to be at SFC. And then we will do our best to help you with your skills from there, your experience and blending in person and remote, because most of the work is remote. But as you heard from Nafee and Amanda, some of the most impactful lessons come in person. So we want to connect people people to people, interns to people, and interns to opportunities, like our mission statement says.
Well done, Titus, on brand. Nafi, there is a question for you. Linda says, I love the use of your videos. I'm wondering how we can use that medium to advocate at the State House and at the White House.
Great question, Linda. Thank you. That's a very good question because at this moment in time with technology and AI, it's very easy to mislead leaders. I'm in full control of what I show you and what I tell you happened. But if it is at such a huge level, there must be some sort of mm, some person to hold us accountable so we can be as transparent as possible. That way, people can actually learn to trust their government instead of the opposite thing. Thank you, Linda.
I also think what we've seen with NAFI is, and Neri has said this for us for a while about keeping things short, which we know, like when we think about talking points, you have 2 minutes at the Ed Committee to share testimony. But I think making things short and then tagging them, right? Like, so if we make the video, make sure that you're connecting with them, sending it to them to make it accessible. I also added, we know there's a lot of activity right now on the federal level. There's a lot of things happening that the governor said that she's going to continue SNAP payments for people in Massachusetts. The president said if you do that, they want to try to undo that. So there's a lot moving at the federal level. Danielle sent her latest update. This is from Friday, so we know things are fluid, but it's a great place to start. As you know, we're adding all of her federal updates and putting them in the folder and the 9:30 call follow-up folder, so you can always go back and check. And there's tons of links and resources there. And as we end, I'd love for folks to continue to add some love and appreciation in the chat for the interns. It's always incredible. And you can hear from Nafi. It's not just us teaching the interns, it's the interns teaching us. This kind of like two-way street of learning has been such an incredible experience and why we continue to do it. So we'll look for interns in the spring semester. We also know that Laman is on the call and he is working kind of on an independent study internship as he is also a student at BU Wheelock College. He is going to come on the 9:30 call and do his final project around comparing the early childhood systems in Gambia and in Massachusetts. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep the chat open for a bit. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back here tomorrow on the 9:30 call. Have a great day.